Your world requires less detail than you think. Alright, Dawa. If it's your second time here, sub. The most popular stories are almost never fully fleshed out. Not anywhere within the Harry Potter books does it ever describe what magic actually is, or even how spells are written. We know spells are written by wizards, we are given examples, but the method is never explained in any detail whatsoever. This trend is true for almost every popular fantasy universe, and in cases where there is a lot of details such as Star Wars Legends, these details are typically written by the fans and not the original authors. For example, anyone who knows about Star Wars Legends will tell you that the reason why Mace Windu uses a purple lightsaber is because Mace Windu practices the Force style Vapid, which uses a small amount of the dark side of the Force, and Hurricane Crystals, which gives it that unique violet hue, shares an affiliation with the dark side as well as the light side of the Force. But that's only if you ask the fan. If you ask George Lucas why Mace Windu uses a purple lightsaber, he'll tell you it's because Samuel L. Jackson likes that colour and convinced him to have one on the basis that he would be easier to pick out of the crowd of those hundreds of other Jedi at the Battle of Geonosis. In fact, the only reason we had green ones was so that we could see Hamills against the blue sky in the final footage of Carcoon. That was a post-filming decision. Is this starting to sink in yet? When you only present the critical information, people's imaginations will naturally fill in the gaps, often through general consensus without them even realizing it. And if you think that's bullshit, then allow me to blow your f***ing mind. You know elves' iconic pointy ears? The elves originally created by Tolkien, author of Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion. There was never a word spoken or written in book, letter, or interview by Tolkien that ever described elves as having pointed ears. Ever. Questions are far more captivating than answers. If you explain every detail, there is nothing for your players to feel curious about. The more space you leave for their imagination to flourish, the more they'll be drawn into your world. For this reason, the information you do present to them should be intended to create questions above all else. Cliffhangers aren't just for the end of the session. A discovered note, a passing comment from an NPC, or anything out of place that the party yet have time to explore can have the same effect in the middle of a session. Missing information also gives your world depth in the way that there is common lore, there is deep lore, there is deeper lore, and then there is lore that will only be left for fan theory. If you lore dump on your players, not only do they become overwhelmed and many will quit because there's just too much to remember, but even for those who stick around, they will be left with a far less interesting world because despite its incredible detail, you've left no room for anything to exist beneath. Ineffability doesn't attenuate, it amplifies. The monster is always more terrifying when you don't even know what it looks like and all that remains are the remains. The presence of a god has far more gravity when not even their will is understood and all we're left with are their interventions. And the easiest way to keep your detail down in your world is to simply not write it in the first place. Leave plenty of space for your world to grow organically. Less is more, keep it simple, stupid. Your subscriptions and likes are encouraging. Keep them coming. Cheers!